So we will start by lying on the back and take a moment to come to rest on your back and make yourself comfortable. So if you need something under your head or something under your knees, just by all means make yourself comfortable. And then we continue with getting into our starting position. So spread your arms a little bit, have your arms extended, the right arm a little bit to the right, the left arm a little bit to the left, not too much, just a bit. So being on the back is the starting position. And then bring your attention, so first thing, bring your attention to your left hand, how your left hand is touching the floor, the contact of your left hand to the floor. Do you have the palm of your hand towards the floor, or do you have the back of your hand on the floor? And then start to slide your hand closer to yourself, torso or the pelvis, and slide a little bit closer until your hand touches your pelvis or your belly, and slide your hand a little bit up your belly and then down again and back so that your arm is extended. That's our first movement we are going to look at. And unlike in a spoken argument, in a debate you can be strong on your position. You can be very tense and defend your position. But here in this bodily essay, just relax and observe, keep an open mind. It's an experiment, an experience, an observation. So this is the first movement. Slide your hand a little bit closer to your torso, slide it up your belly, keep your hands soft, yes, the fingers soft, see, almost like a towel, no tension, just soft, let it be close to the floor, the hand as close as the hand wants to be. We observe what is the orientation of your hand. And keep your elbow where it is, so don't move your elbow. The elbow needs to stay in place. That's our constraint to build this argument, to explore this motion. So this is our first motion, the movement of the hand, the movement of the hand to the left and to the right. And your elbow is somewhat of a point of turning, the middle of a clock face where the clock hands are attached. Your elbow does not move, it's only your hand that moves closer to yourself. And have your everything relax, your breathing at ease, be in a mode of easiness. Your jaw is at ease, your eyes are at your ease, at your ease, at ease. The air that passes through your nostrils should be the nostrils if it's possible. Your nose. The air is sucked in easily and falling out easily. And the movement is to move your hand and to observe your hand. So how do the fingers align? How do the fingers obstruct each other or help each other when the hand is moving, the palm is moving, the wrist, the many bones in your wrist. And then in your lower arms you have two bones, and the bones can twist alongside each other or around each other. So that makes it possible to have the hand once the palm facing the floor or the palm facing the ceiling. See if the movement starts to organize itself, if there is a pattern emerging of how your hand is rolling while you drag it closer towards yourself. The hand touches the belly. It's so nice to feel the warmth of the hand with the belly, or the warmth of the belly with your hand. So it's almost one quadrant of a circle. Then start to make the circle a little bit bigger so that your hand is sliding outwards and the elbow stays in place and the hand is sliding around, at what point does your hand lift off and then your hand is coming closer to your left hand is coming closer to your left shoulder and slides down your chest towards your belly and to your belly. So your hand is almost like the hand of a watch, the hand of a clock, and there can be counterclockwise and clockwise circles, but do it slowly so you can observe the details. Where is the movement jerky? So where are your difficulties in this argument, in this motion? So where do you jump? Where can you not slide over the minutes of the hour? When does your hand turn to face the ceiling? When does your hand turn to face yourself or turn to face the floor? What is the neutral of the movement? So, of course, you could force your hand to point in any direction, but what is the motion, the movement where you don't force your hand at all? You just slide your hand. And how do you support this movement? With your shoulder, with your middle back, with your lower ribs, your floating ribs, your legs, your breathing. How do the rest of yourself connect to the movement? So here a question. When your left hand is out to the left, should your head or could your head be turned to the left to face your hand, or should your head be turned to the right to look away from your hand? So if you would add head movements to your hand movements, in which way would your head be facing? In which direction would your head be facing? At what moment? And remember to stay open and explore, and don't force your opinion. Where should the opinion come from anyway? So observe the movements of your hand and wow, can this be a pleasure? Can this feel nice to slide your fingertips or your fingernails, your knuckles, your soft fingers over the side of your chest, almost like caressing, and then when your hand is moving out to the side, it's almost like saying goodbye to your hand, and then the hand is on a journey over the floor, out, far away, and the hand explores. That's the strength of our hand, to explore. And then the hand returns. And what is the quality of the return? Is it a welcome return, a welcome touch? Now, the question I have been asking, at what point should the head turn? How are the movements of the head related to the movements of the hand? And we will answer this question in movement. So not through studying books of biomechanics and not through computer models, but through movement. And for this we need to assume a different position. So roll to lie onto your right side. So just roll a little bit to the right so that your left hand is resting on your pelvis. I will turn so you can see me better, so I can face towards you. And of course you can take a pillow to support your head if you like. So you rest on your right side. That's our new starting position to investigate this question of where the head should face in relation to the arm movements. And your left arm is on top of your left side. And then, so from this starting position, slide your left hand forwards on your belly or on the floor in front of you. And you notice it's not so easy to keep the elbow in place. So let's forget about this rule at the moment, and we use the shoulder as the point of turning. So when you let your hand slide to the floor, the elbow also slides a little bit off your chest, and then slide your hand forwards and maybe back up onto your side. So we have one little part of the circle, one quadrant. And then the next time your hand is on your left side, let your hand slide backwards. So down your bum. Nice behind. Slide your hand down behind you to the floor and allow yourself to turn. So this is not a stretch. It's not a stretch. You're moving your hand and you're following the movements of the hand. And see, when your hand moves behind you and further behind you to the left, where does your head turn? So when you let yourself fall to the floor, of course, the head will turn towards the ceiling and then turn towards the left to face the left hand. I mean, we can differentiate, we can do the opposite. And if you like, you can do the opposite. You can slide your left hand backwards and force yourself to look to the right. And you have to force yourself to make this differentiation, because naturally the head would roll to the left. But you can force it not to roll to the left, but to look to the right. And there might be some benefit in that, in this differentiation. But do both. Allow your head, at separate times of course, allow your head to roll to the left when you bring your hand to the left. Or don't allow your head to roll. And maybe you notice, so you need time, so you need an excessive amount of time to do this, to explore this, but you will notice that each time you do this differentiation, the movement will become better, more whole. It will affect your whole self more and more, and the movement will become more efficient, yes, more effective, better organized. So it's not a stretch. Of course, your left knee can leave your right knee, and do whatever you discover. It's a discovery, an exploration. And then bring your hand also upwards. So you make a big circle with your arm. And you can explore how you produce this circle. And you need time, so you can see where do you jump, what parts do you miss. And if you try to refine it, don't force it, but instead just take it slower, make it a little bit slower, a little bit easier. Breathe, take a breath, wait, take a rest, continue. You can look up, you can look down, forwards and to the right. You can follow your hand. So now is a question of how long should the movement essay be? Should we introduce parts to integrate the lower back, the arching of the lower back when you look up? But that's not the point. So we have a very clear focus in this lesson. We don't get distracted. And like in a good essay, there's a lot more to say, but we need to cut ideas that do not further the motion. So after a couple of turns with your hand around yourself, around your shoulder, allow yourself to roll back onto your back and come to rest. Take a rest on your back And just lie on your back and feel. Yes, and there might be a big difference, a distortion in how you perceive reality, how you perceive yourself. Your whole left side might feel softer, more connected, more warmer, not as tense as the right side. The left side might feel quite a bit different than the right side. So let's do the same exploration with the right arm, but not entirely the same, because there might be differences to the left side. But so start with your right hand, to bring attention to your right hand, how the right hand touches the floor next to you on the right side, and then start to slide your right hand closer to your pelvis and up your hip towards your belly. And maybe, so we already learned a lot on the left side, so maybe now you discover other things, more deeper qualities when you move your right hand closer and further away. And of course, here keep your right elbow in place. So the middle of the clock face is the right elbow. And observe how it is. How is it to send your right hand away to the right? How does your head roll together with your right hand? So maybe now it's more self-evident. Maybe it happens on its own that your head rolls to the right when you move your right hand out to the side, and your head rolls to the left when you bring your right hand onto your belly. And is there a point where the movement becomes difficult? So the further you go up, when the hand needs to leave the body and needs to leave the floor, or does it? Maybe the hand can stay on the floor when it's up, stay on the floor when it's down, so it might be different. The distance to the floor, and then the hand around, the right hand onto your right shoulder to complete the circle. And take your time, of course, because if you go too fast, you will miss things. We need to look at the details, and that's why we lie on the floor. So we are free from gravity to some extent. We don't need to balance. We can free the nervous system of this task of balancing, of being upright. So we lie on the floor and we have more resources to listen to details. How does the lower arm turn? How does the wrist react? The many bones in the wrist? How is the touch of your right hand on your chest and your belly? At what point do the berries of your fingers touch? At what point does the thumb leave the floor, the index finger, the middle finger, the ring finger, the small finger? What is the sequence of your fingers leaving the floor and coming back to the floor? At what location? At what point of the turning? Yes, that's how good movement can feel if you accept it, if you let it feel good, let yourself enjoy moving about, movement exploration. And of course, this is not a classroom in a school, and you have all the freedom. So if you want to explore some extra movement, or if you want to explore something I'm not cueing or telling you, you are allowed, of course, to do that. Move, drink, eat, go to the toilet, do whatever you want, whatever you need, but know the sequence that I'm proposing, know the structure, know what is it I'm talking about. So if you know what you do, if you know what I'm suggesting, if you know what you do, you can do what you want, and you can play around and make it your own essay and see where do you want to take the essay. And sometimes, often, when we write an essay, it takes turns and goes into directions that are unsuspected, and we come to conclusions that we would never have dreamt of when we started out. Let's shortly do the thing on the side. So turn on your left side and rest your right arm on your right side to explore how the head follows the right arm. Maybe it's different on the right side with the right arm. So your right arm is resting on your right side, and then let your right arm slide behind you to the right, and see, wow, how you fall from side lying to lying on your back. It's almost like a falling. Of course, you don't fall very high because you're already on the floor, but you fall from lying on your side to lying more on your back. And when your arm returns, you fall from being more on your back to being more on your side. And observe how it is to bring the arm up and around, and how your head follows your hand. And how you submit yourself to gravity. Gravity still exists even when you lie down. How you submit, and not just you as one piece of clay, but you with all the many parts, with not only the physical parts, but your thinking, everything, your soul maybe. But in movement, so in movement we have very precisely, we have a head, we have two legs, we have an arm, we have two wrists. What is moving? What is moving in relation to the other parts? And where could you mess around? Where could you make a differentiation? When you bring your hand, your arm back to the right, you could stiffly hold the position of your head and see how much effort it takes to hold your position when your arm is doing something else, your arm is moving behind, but you look to the left, how much force you have to apply to hold your knees together, to stay on your left side when your arm is far out to the right, or when you give up, give in, and you move as a whole at once. Everything is connected and moving together. And maybe the opposite of effort is this feeling of this well-being, this feeling good about the movement. This good feeling, yes, and then return on your back and see if it evened out a little bit, or if you have done something different on your right side than you did on your left side. So this was our starting position on the back, and now we can observe what has changed, how it has developed, our perception of lying down, or maybe our actual lying down, how has it changed? Now let's come to lie on your front side. And turn your head to the right. And have your right elbow a little bit out to the side. So with your feet do what you want, and with your left arm place it where you want, but the right elbow a little bit out to the side, and start to slide your right hand on the floor. So start to slide your right hand on the floor and see where does it slide. Slide your right hand a little bit closer to your head or further away from your head. And keep the elbow in place, and you slide your hand on the floor so you can see how much we are oriented forwards in space. So when we cannot go forwards, it's because now we cannot move the arm forward, so it's a little bit of a constraint. The floor is in front of you when you're lying on your belly, and it might be a little bit more difficult to move your hand around your elbow. And especially if you would like to make a full circle, like we did in lying on the back, how would you make a full circle now on your front side? How would you make that argument? To move your hand around your elbow when you're on your front side. What is the solution? What do you have to do in order to move your hand in a full circle around your elbow? What is the solution? Yes, and after you have tried a bit, because maybe you did not know in the beginning, but you tried a little bit and you did some experimenting, and then, okay, you have to slide it. You have to slide your hand in front of your shoulder, just like we did in lying on the back, but now you're lying on the front. So sliding your hand in front of your shoulder means to slide your hand in between the floor and your right shoulder. And if you do this gentle and carefully and slowly enough, then it will become better with each time, and you need to struggle less each time, and with practice a little bit, maybe improving your alignment, improving your position, improving how you lift your shoulder. This starts to become a fairly easy movement, isn't it? So yes, and maybe it starts to feel actually quite good. Like, it's surprising, and it might feel good to slide your hand underneath your armpit in front of your shoulder so you can complete the circle. And how do you have to use your pelvis or your head? Maybe you need to roll your head a little bit, so to roll over your nose to support this movement of your hand around your elbow. So of course, yes, your right elbow stays more or less in place. It's not nailed down, of course, because there has to be so much movement in your elbow. the two bones in your lower arm now are really twisting and working in a way they didn't have to when you were lying on the back. So this new position, it gives us some restrictions, but also new possibilities of movement. Now, bring your attention to your left arm and do the same exploration with your left arm. So keep your left arm a little bit to the left, your left elbow a little bit spread out to the left, and then start to move your left hand a little bit closer to your head, a little bit further away, and make like a quadrant, half a circle, and then more and more until you have the full circle with your left hand around your left elbow. Yes, and see how it was different on the left side, because we did one side before, the right side, and then you did the left side, and so your thinking was different, and your way of exploring was different, and your expectations were different. Now, let's take a short rest on the back. So we return to the first position we had in this essay of movement, and yes, and lie down on your back and see how it feels to rest now. Feel how it yes, sense how it is to rest now. And you will notice not only your how you rest changed, but how your mental state has changed, probably. So this kind of movement does not only affect the way we move, but also the way we feel. Isn't that interesting? Let's come to the last part, to our conclusion. Turn on your belly again, come to lie on your front side. And then do the same movement we just did with the arms around the elbows, but move both arms at the same time. Do the movement with both arms at the same time. So maybe just first to the right and the left, and then start to make a synthesis. So you moving your whole shoulder girdle, both arms, and allow your head to respond and to participate, and maybe your pelvis, and see where that leads to if you move both arms. Yes, and breathe, relax. Let the air come in and out smoothly. Don't tense up. Have your jaw relaxed, your eyes relaxed, your forehead relaxed, and move into the movements gently. And what will happen if you allow your shoulders to rise, if you allow your shoulders to come up closer to the ceilings, if you allow your shoulders to move, and what happens if you allow your elbows to move? So instead of holding your elbows in place, allow your elbows to slide, but where will they slide? Allow your elbows to come closer to each other. Where does this lead to when you allow your elbows to slide and to come closer to each other at the right moment? So you can move your arms independently in different direction, or you can move them together in opposite direction, so that both arms move out at the same time and move in at the same time. So try to start to synchronize the movement and see where that leads to. Yes, so when the hands move up, the hands pass underneath the shoulders and move up towards the face, and the elbows come closer to each other. Then surprisingly, you pop yourself up onto your elbows, doesn't it? So did this happen to you? Did I leave you enough time to find this movement? And if you haven't found it yourself, I'm so sorry, but that I took that away from you, but maybe you can find it if you try. And see if you are propped up onto your elbows. See if that happened to you. when your elbows came closer to each other, at some point you're up on your elbow, on both elbows. So isn't that a surprising conclusion of this lesson? The movement of the arms to come up onto your elbows in a very systematic way we explored to come to this very natural conclusion, to this beneficial and surprising conclusion, how to prop yourself up onto your elbows. And from here, of course, we can go in many directions. I did a whole course here on YouTube called Tight Neck, ? Here's help, ! Lesson, a series of lessons, of 6 lessons that explore tightness in your middle chest and in your upper chest and in your neck, and how you can release habitual tension and how you can improve the organization of not only your shoulders and how you carry your head, but how also, of course, how it relates to your pelvis and so forth. A wonderful course here for free on YouTube you could explore next. So after this, let's take a last rest on the back. I hope that was fun. I hope that was surprising to come onto your elbows. Take a last rest on the back. See how it feels now to rest on your back. Yes, how it feels, how you sense, not only how you sense yourself, but how you feel in a more general sense. So, and then before we fall asleep, The last thing left to do is to come up to stand, to see how it is in standing and to face the world in standing. Yes, so in standing, just for a moment, take your time and stand and see how easy it is, how light you feel, how your shoulder girdle feels light, how your arm movements feel light, how your arm movements, are they still connected with your head movements, or are your head movements still connected to the movements of your arms? And maybe take a few steps and see how it is to walk, to shift through space, to float through space, how your arms swing. A synthesis, a fusion of moving and thinking, critical thinking and critical moving. So I hope this was an inspiration to you. I hope you enjoyed doing this lesson as much as I enjoyed teaching it. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.